There's a hunger inside you that won't die, a craving that eats at you every time she goes silent. There's a reason you stare at your screen waiting for her response, feel hollow when she pulls away, and suddenly feel alive when she throws you a crumb of attention, and it has nothing to do with who she really is. Today we're diving into something most men won't admit exists: the psychological enslavement to female approval. Not romance, not connection, but the desperate need to be chosen, to be validated, to feel like you matter because she decided you do. We're going to rip this addiction open from its roots, expose how the modern world feeds it, and show you the brutal path to breaking these chains. This won't be easy to hear, but deep down, you already feel the cage you're in. Let's name it. We discuss addiction to alcohol, addiction to screens, addiction to porn. But there's an invisible addiction consuming millions of men that hides in plain sight. Addiction to being wanted by women. This isn't about desiring a relationship. That's human. This isn't about attraction. That's wired into you. This is about needing her approval to feel real, needing her eyes on you to feel valuable, needing her presence to fill the void inside. Men trapped in this addiction construct their entire reality around one thing: securing and keeping female attention. Every decision filters through, will this impress her? They feel like ghosts during dry spells. They spiral into obsession when a woman notices them, not because she's extraordinary, but because she makes them feel less invisible. The signs are everywhere: desperate messages, jealous rage, inability to leave toxic situations. And the subtle ones, the mental gymnastics constantly calculating how to be desired, the self-worth measured exclusively by romantic conquest, the crushing emptiness that floods in the moment her attention disappears. This isn't love, this is hunger. And until you see where the hunger was born, you'll keep feeding it with scraps. The man enslaved by female validation doesn't cherish women, he consumes them. He uses them as mirrors to see himself as worthy. He uses them as medication for wounds rotting inside him. He uses them as proof he's not worthless. And because he's extracting rather than connecting, every relationship eventually crumbles. And he never understands why. Almost every validation addiction has the same origin story. What was stolen from you in childhood, the attention you begged for, the approval you had to earn through performance, the love that came with conditions or didn't come at all. Children need specific nutrients to develop a healthy psyche. They need unconditional acceptance, knowing they matter just for existing. They need conditional praise, understanding that actions have consequences. And they need models, living examples of what adulthood looks like. When these needs are starved, children mutate. They develop survival strategies to extract whatever fragments of love are available. And those childhood strategies become adult prisons long after they've stopped working. A boy ignored by his mother will spend his life chasing that attention from every woman who crosses his path. A boy abandoned by his father will never know what it means to be a man, leaving him lost and desperate for anyone to define him. A boy who only received love when he succeeded will become a man convinced his value is measured purely by what he achieves or provides. The addiction to women isn't about women at all. It's about a hole carved into you before you understood language, and you've been trying to fill it with the wrong things ever since. Let's talk about fathers, because this is where the damage runs deepest. A father's purpose is to forge a boy into a man, to model strength, to provide structure and discipline, to push the boy beyond comfort, and eventually to release him into the world capable and complete. When this process succeeds, the boy becomes a man with internal authority. He doesn't need external voices telling him he's enough. He carries the tools to validate himself. When the father vanishes, physically or emotionally, this forging never happens. The boy never learns what masculinity actually is. He never receives the trials that would have built him. He never gets initiated into manhood because no one was there to perform the ritual. So he remains frozen, psychologically stunted, still a boy in a man's body. And boys need approval. Boys need someone telling them they're okay. Boys search outside themselves for proof of value. Without a father to provide that approval and then teach him to create it internally, the boy man seeks validation from whoever offers it. Usually that means women. He's not seeking a partner. He's hunting for someone to tell him he's enough, because his father never did. This is why so many men are simultaneously desperate for female attention and incapable of sustaining intimacy. They're not engaging women as adults engage adults. They're relating to women as boys relate to mothers, craving comfort, approval, and unconditional acceptance they were denied. The father wound is everywhere once you recognize its fingerprints. It's the man who can't decide anything without his girlfriend's permission. It's the man who shatters at the first hint of female rejection. It's the man whose entire identity depends on his success with women. These men aren't naturally broken. They're incomplete by circumstance. They never received what they needed to become whole. Here's the twisted part many refuse to see. Countless men are hunting for motherly love inside romantic relationships. They want soothing. They want comfort. They want unconditional acceptance regardless of failure. They want to be held and told the world won't hurt them. These are needs children have for mothers. These are not needs grown men should carry into partnerships. But when development gets arrested at the stage of needing maternal comfort, that need infects every relationship. He's not searching for an equal. He's searching for someone to emotionally parent him. He wants the relationship to feel like crawling back into the womb. This traps women in an impossible dynamic. They entered expecting a man and instead find themselves raising an emotional child who can't self-regulate, can't handle rejection, and collapses whenever comfort isn't actively administered. Attraction dies because no one desires their own child. The man feels abandoned, which rips open his original wound, which makes him cling harder, which repels her further. The cycle devours another relationship. Then he finds another woman to repeat the exact pattern. The tragedy? He usually blames them. She changed. She stopped caring. She wasn't the one. He never sees that he was demanding something no romantic partner can ever give. The unconditional maternal love that should have been gifted freely in childhood, not hunted desperately in adulthood. This psychological starvation has spawned an entire predatory industry built to exploit it. Scan the online landscape and you'll see it split into two feeding grounds, both targeting people who never fully developed: maternal content and paternal content. Maternal content offers relief. It soothes the ache. It whispers that you're special, that the universe is secretly working for you, that good things are destined, that you deserve love without effort. Think astrology feeds, manifestation gurus, self-love coaches promising abundance will arrive if you just believe hard enough. This content feels like medicine. It delivers the unconditional acceptance these consumers were starved of, but it also keeps them paralyzed, dependent, waiting for external magic to fix internal rot. It's psychological poison disguised as healing, satisfying in the moment, lethal over time. Paternal content offers pain. It challenges, it attacks. It tells you that you're insufficient, that you need to bleed more, that your suffering is your fault, that rescue isn't coming. Think tough love drill sergeants, grind culture prophets, personas promising transformation through punishment. This content also feeds on psychological starvation, the hunger for a father figure who provides structure and correction. But without genuine relationship and context, it's just abuse masquerading as growth. Harsh noise making people feel inadequate without actually guiding them anywhere real. Both content types are symptoms of a generation insufficiently parented, now seeking digital parents from internet strangers. They're not learning. They're not growing. They're being emotionally regulated by algorithms. The creator becomes surrogate parent. The audience becomes a herd of adult children desperate for comfort or correction. And because the feed never stops, they consume infinitely without ever evolving. They feel productive while remaining exactly the same, comforted or punished on an endless loop. There's one category deserving special attention: the pseudoscience and mysticism capturing millions. Manifestation, law of attraction, angel numbers, tarot as life strategy, energy healing, miracle money rituals, twin flame mythology. These systems share one core appeal: hope without responsibility. They promise the universe will deliver what you want, that forces beyond your control will save you. That belief alone is sufficient for results. This is seductive for the same reason maternal content is seductive. It feels like being cared for. It removes the burden of having to do something hard, but it's also deeply infantilizing. An adult knows outcomes depend on action. A child believes wanting something hard enough makes it appear. Pseudoscience lets adults maintain childlike fantasies about reality. Men enslaved to female validation are especially vulnerable to this thinking around relationships. They want to believe the right woman will manifest if they align their energy correctly. They want to believe past failures were about cosmic timing, not their behavior. They want to outsource responsibility for their romantic lives to invisible forces they don't have to control. It's easier to believe in destiny than to admit you need to change. The pseudoscience industry preys specifically on people avoiding responsibility. It packages avoidance as enlightenment. It gives nice scientific-sounding language to magical thinking. It tells people what they crave to hear: that they're special, that the universe conspires for them, that their failures aren't their fault, and charges them handsomely for the delusion. Genuine growth is brutal, slow, and demands facing truths that hurt. Comfortable delusion feels good immediately but locks you exactly where you are. At the core of all this is something simple: the refusal to grow up. Growing up means accepting no one is coming to save you. It means your problems are yours to solve, regardless of who created them. It means tolerating discomfort, delaying pleasure, and doing hard things because they're necessary. Growing up means becoming your own parent, developing internal voices that both comfort and challenge you, that hold you accountable while accepting your humanity. It means no longer needing external figures to provide what you can generate internally. Men addicted to female validation have refused this transition. They're still searching for someone else to make them feel okay. They're still hoping someone will arrive and fill the emptiness. They're still operating as children who need attention to know they exist. This refusal is rarely conscious. Most think they want a relationship when they actually want rescue. They think they're seeking a partner when they're actually seeking a mother who will also sleep with them. Until they recognize this pattern and consciously choose adulthood, they'll repeat it with every woman they touch. Growing up isn't an event, it's a process. It requires confronting the parts of yourself that want to remain small. It means surrendering the fantasy that someone will arrive and fix everything. It means accepting that the unconditional love you missed as a child is gone. You can't retrieve it. And learning to provide yourself what you need. Here's something that triggers defensiveness but must be said. Many men have become psychologically fragmented in ways that sabotage their ability to lead their own lives. They've outsourced decision-making. They defer to women, to experts, to anyone radiating confidence. They're uncomfortable with authority, having it or wielding it. They avoid conflict like death. They prioritize being liked over being respected. This isn't political, it's developmental. A healthy adult possesses solidity. They know what they want. They make decisions and own consequences. They don't need constant external approval to feel secure. When men lack this core, they become dependent on whoever offers direction. Often that's women, girlfriends, wives, mothers who end up managing their lives because the men won't manage themselves. This creates relationships where the woman carries all functional authority because the man has surrendered it. He calls it being flexible or supportive. What it actually is, psychological dependency disguised as virtue. Healthy relationships require two complete people. When one is incomplete and seeking completion through the other, the relationship becomes parasitic rather than mutual. Women sense this incompleteness even without words for it. They feel the weight of being someone's emotional anchor. They feel the pressure of being responsible for his stability. They feel the wrongness of being needed too much. And eventually, they retreat, not from cruelty, but from exhaustion. The dynamic is unsustainable. Here's something men discover when they finally capture the validation they've been chasing. It fixes nothing. The woman they wanted wants them back. The attention they craved is abundant. The approval they needed is flowing. And yet, the emptiness remains. Because external validation can't fill internal voids. It provides temporary relief, like a drug, but doesn't heal the deficiency. The childhood wound doesn't close because a woman says she loves you. The absent father doesn't get replaced by female approval, so the man hunts for more. More attention, more proof, more demonstrations. He becomes exhausting because his need is bottomless. No amount is ever sufficient. Or he realizes she's not providing what he fantasized, and he begins hunting for another woman who might deliver better. He cycles endlessly, chasing the initial validation rush, never understanding why it always fades. The validation treadmill is exhausting and ultimately futile. But men stay on it because the alternative, confronting why they need validation in the first place, is agony. It means admitting you've been running your entire life. It means acknowledging your pursuit of women has been less about love and more about fleeing the emptiness inside. It means sitting with that emptiness instead of constantly numbing it with someone else. Most men would rather keep running. The treadmill hurts, but facing the wound hurts more, at least initially. So how do you escape this prison? First, recognize the pattern. See it with brutal clarity. Acknowledge your relationship with women has been driven by desperation, not genuine desire. Admit you've been seeking something from them they can never provide. This requires ruthless honesty. Most resist because it feels like admitting defeat. But you can't fix what you won't name. Second, trace the wound. Where did this need originate? What was stolen from you as a child? What are you still trying to extract from romantic partners that should have been given decades ago by parents? This is grueling work. Often requires professional help, a therapist who understands attachment and trauma. But it can also be done through serious self-examination, journaling and honest conversations with people who know your history. Third, become your own parent. Develop internal voices that provide what you've been hunting externally. An internal, nurturing voice that accepts you without performance. An internal, challenging voice that holds you accountable. The ability to comfort yourself during hardship and push yourself through laziness. This is actual psychological maturity, not toughness or isolation. It's having a complete internal system that doesn't collapse without others. Fourth, build a life that holds value regardless of romantic success. Purpose, achievement, community, health, interests, skills. Things that generate worth independent of female attention. When your identity is built on solid ground, romantic rejection becomes disappointing rather than annihilating. You pursue relationships from desire rather than desperation, which paradoxically makes you far more magnetic. Fifth, practice being alone without disintegrating. Learn to exist peacefully in your own company. Discover you can be at peace without someone validating your existence. This isn't isolation. It's developing the capacity to be whole by yourself, so relationships become a choice, not a lifeline. The goal isn't to stop wanting relationships. It's to stop needing them to feel like a complete human. One thing that accelerates this enormously: surround yourself with people who will tell you the truth. Not yes men who validate everything. Not harsh critics who destroy you. People who care about your evolution and will speak uncomfortable truths. Men addicted to validation often avoid these people. They prefer company that doesn't challenge them. They drift toward communities confirming existing beliefs rather than questioning them. This is how people stay trapped. They build echo chambers protecting them from the feedback they need. Real growth requires friction. It requires people who will confront you. It requires relationships where you can expose your weaknesses and receive honest reflection about your blind spots. Find men doing the real work. Build relationships based on mutual accountability. Be willing to hear things that cut. Extend the same honesty to others. A community of growth is the opposite of a community of comfort. It's harder, but it actually produces transformation. Here's what you'll be tempted to do. Look for shortcuts. A technique to make women chase you. A formula guaranteeing results. A system bypassing internal work and just delivering external outcomes. The internet is flooded with people selling these shortcuts. Pickup artists, dating coaches, people promising the right words, the right frame, the right approach will get you the validation you crave. Some techniques might even work short term. You might get attention. Dates, the validation hit. But underneath you'll remain the same. Still enslaved, still needy, still incapable of genuine connection because you're too busy performing. The shortcut trap is seductive because it promises results without transformation. It lets you stay broken while getting different outcomes. But it doesn't work long term because the problem isn't your technique. The problem is your psychology. Real change requires real work. There's no hack. Let me paint what it looks like when a man breaks these chains. He's still attracted to women. He still desires relationship. He still finds women compelling. But he doesn't need it to feel okay. His baseline state is stable regardless of romantic status. He can face rejection and feel disappointment without devastation. He can be alone and feel content rather than desperate. When he enters relationships, he does so as a complete person, seeking partnership with another complete person. He's not looking for rescue. He's not trying to fill a void. He's offering genuine connection between equals. This makes him dramatically more attractive, but more importantly, it makes his relationships dramatically healthier. He can give without depleting himself. He can receive without becoming parasitic. He can face conflict without the terror of abandonment. He's integrated the father he needed and the mother he needed into his own psyche. He parents himself now. And that means he can finally engage women as a man, not as a boy still hunting for approval. Now it's time for you to answer a brutal question. Is what I've described your reality? Not theoretically, not academically, actually. Do you organize your emotional life around female attention? Do you feel invisible when women aren't interested? Do you become obsessive, clingy, or desperate when someone shows interest? Do you stay in destructive relationships because being alone feels like death? Did you have a father who was present and engaged? Or were you raised without that guidance? Did you receive what you needed as a child? Or are you still trying to get it now? Be honest. The first step to escaping any prison is admitting you're locked inside. If this described you, don't feel shame. Feel possibility. Because understanding the cage is most of the escape. Once you see the pattern clearly, you can start dismantling it. The addiction to women isn't about women. It's about a wound that never healed, a need that was never met, development that was never completed. It's about boys who grew into men physically, but never made the psychological leap to adulthood. It's about searching for parents in places parents cannot exist. It's about hoping external validation will repair internal destruction. The path out isn't comfortable, but it's clear. Recognize the pattern. Trace the wound. Become your own parent. Build a life of genuine value. Surround yourself with people who speak truth. Stop searching for someone to complete you. Complete yourself. Then, and only then, will you be capable of the kind of relationship you actually want. One between two whole people. two broken fragments pretending they make a whole. That's the truth about why you're enslaved to women. Now you decide what to do with it.